Promod Fred into the water box, Mike Achenbach. Out of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania is Achenbach. The 69 Camaro with 959 inches. A big nitrous motor in it. So now we need pairs 11 through 16 of Pro Modified. Danica Blinko, Cox Monday, Balduff Harvey, Quisenberry Rudolph, Weatherford Ward. Pairs 11 through 15. The Canvas Plus sponsorship for Achenbach's gorgeous purple and black Camaro, and for Manny Bujinga, the familiar red coloration that, well, basically every car he's raced in the last several years has had. Now this 4-speed Chevrolet body is a bit of a departure. And the same familiar crew of people working on this car, Jamie Miller crew chiefing. Miller coming into 2023, defending world champion crew chief in the NHRA Pro Modified Series. William Brown, final call. Final call, William Brown to the lanes for Q1 of Pro Mod. Final call, Brown to the lanes, Pro Modified. And you can see Achenbach had the nose of that thing up, goes 3.708 at 205. Great driving job there. Bujinga's car was moving strongly. We had to shut it off early. Goes 5.24 at just 93 miles an hour. Mandy's car was marginally better to 60 feet by 5 thousandths. He was even a little quicker to the 330, but Achenbach's car kept the hammer down. 3.708, 205 for the team from Pennsylvania. For Bujinga will be another swing in qualifying session 2 as they continue run by run to sort out a brand new program. Steve King and Chris Rennie coming up now. King's car is magnificent. That Corvette, beautiful color, as Rennie's car backing his way up now. 959 inches, a big Charlie Buck racing engine for Chris Rennie out of Hickory, North Carolina. The ATI Performance Product sponsored car, and come to the stop a bit ahead of the starting line area. He's getting some direction now. Both cars have made it back to the starting line. A bit of wrench work being performed on King's car up there at the top of the blower. I think they're snugging up some sweaty fittings. Those are fixed. They're not leaking or sweating. That's all. So Rennie and King now. Want to be a hero, find the 360s. That'll put you on top of the list. Or you can find the truly bottom of the 370s barrel to go to number 1. Not a lot of room left there. 3.707 currently leads the field from Josh Vettel. Nothing doing for Vettel. Rennie goes a 3.73.2 at 2:01.64. So Rennie doesn't go to the top of the sheet, but he puts himself in that upper echelon as we work our way through qualifying session 1. King's car had broken traction by the time he got 60 feet. Rennie lands 4th at the moment. King runs 7.22.7 at 75 after spinning the tires. And here comes Craig Sullivan. Lined up next to Ty Tuturo, maybe the best looking pair of pro mods in the world right now. So both burnouts complete. Tyler Jenkins is the owner of this 1957 Buick, and he has placed a very competent young wheelman in the seat in Ty Tuturo. And for Craig Sullivan, the El Mero Mero car continues to be just one of the most stunning pro mods probably ever built. And a bit of a brush with the concrete last year, that's all since been mended, and it is back to fighting form. This car made a career best run in testing just a day or two ago. And it is capable of obliterating what is the current #1 qualifying position if they were able to repeat that run. Winlight Bets, Wild Irish Racing Engine, Sullivan's Equipment, Carolina Collision Equipment, Extreme Oil, Liberty Transmissions, Darren Merritt Performance Engineering, of course Larry Jeffers Race Cars, responsible for the construction of this car and its fix. And for Tyler Jenkins, what a beautiful car for Ty Tuturo. What a great shot here and a top shelf piece of equipment. Todd Tuturo steps to the back to watch his son go to work. They're in. Nothing doing for Sullivan. Tuturo goes 369.7, 205 miles an hour. First trip into the 360s, and he vaults himself on top of the qualifying sheet, 9:50.60 foot time, 249.1 at the 330-foot mark, and then across the finish line, 369.7 at 205. Sullivan's car rattled the tire early, coast to a 9:17.5 at just shy of 50 miles an hour. So Ty Tuturo breaks his way into the 360s, and not big speed yet, which is interesting. Achenbach's 205.83, still the fastest car, but we are continuing to work our way through this massive first round. Chip King and Jason Scruggs. See, now here's Jason Scruggs. Upper stand was before, and now Jason's in here. Gary Bickle, Bill Red Camaro, and Chip King, the DreamWorks Motorsports 1970 Charger. King a couple of seasons ago, the NMCA Pro Modified champion. This is a last and final call for Harvey. We are missing Harvey to the lanes. Last and final call for Harvey. So King is going to be sent forward. Scruggs is going to clean the motor out quick over there on that right-hand side. All right, so Jason Scruggs been given the go-ahead on his side of the racetrack. And Chip King, same. Whoa, man, Scruggs way up by the center line. He keeps the thing in his own lane, but barely. 363.9 at 207. Chip King's car rockets to the top of the sheet. Beautiful run by that team. Scruggs car at 391.7, only 151 miles an hour. That car was ripping early down low, but for Scruggs, the car moved to the inside. He was able to feather the gas and keep it in his own lane. It was headed to the center line very aggressively. But Chip King, 9:34.60 foot time, 2:44.8 to the 3:30, and then out the back door at 3:63.9 to grab the number 1 spot. William Brown III now, the 1969 Camaro out of Chesapeake, Virginia. And here comes Little Country. Justin Swanstrom coming up here in his Lexus. And we will take the remaining Pro Mods. That's Matos, Steading, Decker, Shelton, Curtuccio, Abbott, Salemi, Werderhausen, Tuturo, Snyder, and Halsey, Lee. Once again, the remaining Pro Mods that have not come to the lanes, we need the rest of you. Matos, Steading, Decker, Shelton, Curtuccio, Abbott, Salemi, Werderhausen, Tuturo, Snyder, and Halsey, Lee. Big Country, Corey Swanstrom standing behind Justin. They have made some very successful test runs in this car this week. They have gotten it down into the low 370 range. And they feel as though if they can run down the bottom of the 370s, they'll make their way into this field, and I can't necessarily argue against that logic. For William Brown, a sleek, beautiful blue 69 Camaro. That Yanko stripe done in a carbon fiber look, or maybe just the bare carbon fiber from the body cleared over. And the Hormone Logic sponsored 18 Lexus of Little Country, Justin Swanstrom. Swanstrom's car bouncing the front end of the 330, goes 376.2 at 200. Got up there, was moving. It sounded like it might have had some sort of a miss, a little bit of maybe a miss going down, but still 376.2, a nice solid opening shot for the Swanstrom boys down there. 944 to the 60-foot cone, or block rather, 253.0 to the 330-foot block. Got the car on the tire. You saw it try to kind of hover the front end out there at around that 330-foot mark, maybe a little before. And Brown has come to a stop before the 8th mile finish line, so we're going to come and give him some assistance off the top end. Mike Tokars and Mark Mickey will be coming up next. And once again, we do need Matos, Steading, Decker, Shelton, Curtuccio, Abbott, Salemi, Werderhausen, Tuturo, Snyder, and Halsey, Lee. The remaining Pro Mod cars to the lanes, please. Pusher quad is on the way, so it'll be just one moment. This M&M Transmission Outlaw Pro Modified category this weekend, off to a flying start like we expected they would be. Presented by Fuel Tech and PJS Racing.
It's all about feel. And this car, I love this car, but not when it hesitates. So I was looking for better performance. That's why I went with an Edelbrock AVS2 carburetor. No hesitation. The Edelbrock warranty. Great throttle response. Now when I punch it, it moves. Edelbrock, charge forward.
We drive tech. We drive the industry. Going beyond the limits and advancing forward. A versatile all-in-one solution. We're here for you every step of the way. And that's why you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
Welded, pumps, regulators, filters, fueling champions.
It's all about feel. And this car, I love this car, but not when it hesitates. So I was looking for better performance. That's why I went with an Edelbrock AVS2 carburetor. no hesitation. The Edelbrock warranty. Great throttle response. Now when I punch it, it moves. Edelbrock, charge forward.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
And of course, the nitrous cars have been out as well. So Mike Tokar is a longtime runner in this part of the world out of Geneva, Florida. The unique 2010 Stratus body car. And that gorgeous light blue paintwork on Mickey's 69 Camaro. And again, if you're a pro modified racer who has not found their way to the staging lanes yet, we have called all remaining cars to the lanes. And Mickey is on a great pull. He goes 360.30 at 2:18.27. So Mark Mickey comes out of the gate making a statement. 9:53 short time, 2:48.9 to the 3:30, and then 360.30, 2:18 out the gate. Tokar's car out of power before the 8th mile. So once again, we'll send the pusher quad and give him some help off the top end. But for Mark Mickey, beautiful run. Takes the number 1 spot away from Chip King, who ran 363.9, 207, and sets, so far anyway, big speed of the meet at 2:18.27. This is a standby call for Pro 275 presented by Mickey Thompson Tires and Precision Turbo and Engine. Once again, Pro 275, this is a standby call. We don't need you yet, but we're telling you that you will be the next class called. Pro 275, be ready. The call's coming in the not-too-distant future. We got a racer in need looking for a 5-on-5 bolt pattern axle, 40 spline, around 19.5 inches long from axle flange to the end. At Bradenton, this is Brandon Sykes. Brandon Sykes looking for a 5-on-5 bolt pattern, 40 spline axle. If you got one, come to the tower and tell us, and we'll yell and scream about it. As we get tow cars off the racetrack, give us a chance to do a little touch-up out here. The rotator going to come out. You saw a little swab of the decks going on in the left lane. So make sure that is fully cleaned up for the next pair. And it appears we're clear at the top end, so we should be hearing the next pair of cars lighting off here any minute. So Terry Coyle coming up, that beautiful Ford Mustang here, Boxborough, North Carolina, home for Coyle. And Adam Flamel out of Cape Coral, Florida. Last time we saw Adam in this car, it had effectively just been constructed before the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals. He's had a couple of months now. With this car in his shop, he's got one race under his belt, so loads more data now than he did at the Snowbirds. And Terry Coyle making his way back to the starting line area, the unique Mach 1. Car first made famous by Terry Leggett back in the day, several years ago. Still a very competitive, very fast car, running out of the DreamWorks Motorsports camp. We saw how well Chip King went down the racetrack, so we'll see what his teammate can do. See Chip's name on the window as drove this car in NMCA competition a couple of seasons ago to a championship run. And for Flamholes, you see that just massive screw supercharger. Huge snorkel on top, the carbon fiber snorkel above the roof line. His crew sending him to the starting line as Coyle waiting patiently just ahead of pre-stage. 360-3-0, currently the number one qualifying position, and Mark Mickey sitting in it. Coyle's wrestling with that thing. He's going to take it to the stripe, though. 375.7, for Adam, whose car actually dropped a cylinder early, then picked it back up again. Coyle goes 371.2. He goes to the number 6 spot. The 375 puts Adam in the number 9 spot. Quick look at some debris out there between the 330 and the 8th mile. We're going to grab that. Adam's car, because of the miss in that one cylinder early, recorded a 1 second flat 60-foot time, but again, it dropped it, but it picked it right back up again. Thirdly, killed some ET, but it was able to finish the run under power at 375.7, but for Coyle, the 371 is looking good, and our big lump right now is cars between 369 and 371. We got a stack of them from the number 3 to really the number 8 position-ish. Andrew Andrus out of New York and Wes Stefano out of Waterford, Michigan coming up now. A pair of 959 cubic inch nitrous snorting engines. Scotty's Racing Engines providing the power for Andrus. Tim Christ, Coast Chassis Design on the chassis side, Star Racing, Straight Line Media. Ryan Chin involved with this program as Wes Stefano. You see the Pat Busey Popeye logo on the forward-facing scoop of his 1968 Camaro. Guy who was a terror in the Pro Outlaw 632 category of PDRA drag racing, stepped up to the world of Pro Nitrous competition. Fared pretty well during the course of the 2022 season. He comes into 23 with all that experience under his belt. Seen a pair of turbo cars side by side and a pair of the big nitrous bombs side by side now. Huge engine sounds so great with the zoomy style headers on them, crackling away down there. Andrus is really working a steering wheel. He goes 369.7 the hard way at 204 miles an hour. Stefano goes 379.5 at 200. But Andrew drove through a little faint tire shake early. The car really was trying to throw him off and move him to the middle of the racetrack, but he was able to fight his way through it. And for his efforts, he lands right now fourth on the qualifying sheet. Exciting run there for Andrus. Stefano's car was just a little bit lazier all the way through, 379.5 at 200. Incrementally, he was behind Andrus, 100th and change up the starting line, nearly a tenth of a second by the 330, and a true tenth of a second at the stripe. Brandon, Mississippi's own Billy Banneker coming up right now. The 1968 Hugger Orange Camaro, S&B Trucking, S&B Logistics, B&G Auto Body, the sponsors, and Tom Blinko out of Bankston, Kentucky. Patrick Barnhill, the tuner on the car, standing ahead of Blinko, directing him to the position they want him on the starting line. Blinko in that 2021 Corvette bodied car. Banneker's been around the game for plenty of time. He has been a kind of higher driver with other teams, but this is all his own stuff. And nice stuff it is. And Barnhill going to step back and watch his handiwork. See if these two drivers can avoid the shake monster that's gotten several good cars in this first round, or if they can fare, like we've seen several others, be able to either power through it very faintly or suffer none of it at all. Wow, Blinko's car went into a huge power wheel stand, 367.7, 205 for Banneker. They will take that. And for Tom Blinko, the car was getting with the program and then really got the nose up, and he lifted, perhaps wisely. Banneker lands number 3 right now at 367.7, 205 for Blinko, who was incrementally better before he took his foot off the gas. He falls down the bottom of the 16 cars right now that would make up the top half of the field. He is 16th. So Tom Blinko goes 16th with an early shutoff, 466. Michigan's Robert Cox coming up here, and David Monday, the chassis builder from Louisville, Tennessee. Another of our Michigan-based teams here for Robert Cox. Gary Bickle chassis for the Michigander. Modern Racing involved in the tuning of this car, and their efforts have showed. Him making some of his best runs career-wise this week. And for David Monday, once again, Patrick Barnhill standing ahead of the race car. All right, for Pro 275, I'll give you some information in 1 minute after this pair goes down. Man, Monday's going to ride that wheel stand almost all the way down the racetrack, but look at Cox, 361.7, 205.66. Brutally quick run there for the team out of Michigan. Well done as he goes now to the top of the qualifying sheet, outrunning Mark Mickey by 100th and change. So Robert Cox at 361.7 leads the field Monday with that long wheel stand. Goes 3.704, lands 7th. It's brutally quick out here this morning. I guess this afternoon. Now, we need our first 3 pairs of Pro 275. That is Mo Hall, Rylan Holder, Charlie Cooper, Tim Dutton, Burt, and Preston. The first 3 pairs, and that's it for Pro 275. We need the first 3 pairs only of Pro 275. Hall, Holder, Cooper, Dutton, Burt, Preston. The rest of you hold your horses. Jericho Balduff and Travis Harvey, the Carolina Kid. Sonny Leonard Power for Harvey, 940 inches worth. And for Jericho Balduff out of Edgewater, Florida, the familiar blown combination, a screw blower on top of that engine. 1969 Chevelle body, the Batman theming. You can see Harvey purging the nitrous right side. See what the Extreme Concrete sponsored Chevelle can do here. Stewart Performance push rods, Outlaw Racing fuels, and Andy McCoy, the chassis builder. Tire shake for Balduff. Harvey's going to shut it off early. It looked like one cylinder might have been missing out there in Harvey's car. He goes 394 at 151 for Balduff, a 729.9 at 60 miles per hour. We need our first 3 pairs of Pro 275. That is Mo Hall, Brylan Holder, Charlie Cooper, Tim Dutton, Marcus Burt, Adam Preston. We need those 6 cars to start us off in Pro 275. Scott Quisenberry and Jeff Rudolph coming up right now. Rudolph, whose car was a twin-turbo combination. Now uses a Pro Charger on the Ghetto Sleigh. And Scott Quisenberry out of Springfield, Ohio, in 1941 Willys, who had the kind of racing weekend of his career so far, just back at the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals, making career best run after career best run. Scott Brasket Engines, Modern Outlaw, the sponsors. Knew him for years in his 55 Chevy, but this Willys has probably been the best thing he's ever bought in terms of drag racing. Jeff Pierce standing behind the car. So the next pair of Snarling Pro Mods takes to the tree. Wow, big wheel stand at the 330 for Scott. He goes 369.8, 204.29. That thing climbed right up on the rear tires at 330 feet. It was tracking straight and true, and he kept his foot to it. Jeff Rudolph had to get off the gas early, 498.4 at 97. Scott Quisenberry now your number 7 qualifier with a adventuresome pass out there in the Willys. My goodness, you don't normally see a car so brutally pick the front end up like somebody threw a light switch out there at the 330. And it is translating into a very, very quick field of Pro Mods. The split right now in this 32-car field stands at 379 again, the top half. Randy Weatherford, a former Pro Boost champion of the PDRA drag racing world out of Danville, Virginia. The WS Construction Camaro completes the burnout. And Derek Ward out of Friendship, Maryland, the DNS Decorative Concrete 68 Camaro making his way back to the starting line. Conditions are certainly still conducive to running very, very quick and fast. Weatherford, one of those guys that could contend for a number one spot here. We have seen that car historically go that quick or quicker. He's been a world record holder in PDRA drag racing and Pro Boost. And for Derek Ward, you don't count out this McCamus-bodied 1968 Camaro under any circumstance. It lacks some of the visual flash and dash of some of the other equipment out here, but it is all the world a very fast car. He is trying to get into forward gear, which he has just successfully done. We've called those first three pairs of Pro 275 cars to the lanes. And that is Pro 275 presented by Mickey Thompson Tires and Precision Turbo and Engine. Weatherford one side, Ward the other. And Ward's car is way over on the right, over by the wall. He wrestles it to a 3.702, and there it is. Randy Weatherford goes 3.605 at 2:10.11. Weatherford goes to the top of the qualifying order, and now we're talking about maybe a run in the 50s at some point this session. 3.605 now, number one for Randy Weatherford. Ward's 370 put him ninth. And now to crack the top half of the field, you got to be better than 375. The top 8 cars are 69 or better. Raymond Matos and Kurt Steading. Matos, the racer based out of Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Proline powered 2020 Chevrolet Camaro. And for Kurt Steading, Carnegie, Pennsylvania, P2 Contracting, P2 Racing, Tie Drive, YO Motorsports, Robert Abbott Orange Grove sponsored Camaro. So Raymond Matos and a very, very good piece of machinery down there. And Kurt Steading was a guy who seemed almost destined to be able to win at the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals. The car was brutally quick. Bad luck befell him late in the round, so he is looking for some redemption here this weekend. The Noonan Race Engineering Hemi, the more snub-nosed injector hat, if you will. Brad Schmidt behind the car, giving some orders in the radio here for Steading to bring the car ahead and stay. Matos is on his own, his crew guy. Like Dan Ferguson actually has held him up just a moment on purpose. No big deal as Steading begins to move ahead. Ferguson steps away, as does the crew for Kurt Steading. 3.605, the number one spot right now. Clean run here, 361.9 for Kurt Steading at 209.88. A 366.1 at 206.92 for Raymond Matos. Kurt Steading lands number 3. Raymond Matos lands number 6. And now the top 10 cars are 3.605 to 369.8. To make the top half of the field, you got to go 371.6 or better. Here comes Stan Shelton. The Culp Lumber Mustang out of North Carolina. And Mike Decker Jr. out of Woodstock, Maryland. Shelton, very well known in the PDRA, has made his presence felt in the NHRA Pro Mod world. Mike Decker, the Northeast Outlaw Pro Modified Series champion multiple times in a row now. We talk about the events here, the early season or late season events down here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, and they are all-star races by any measure. The Deckers Salvage Camaro. As it is screw superchargers a pair for our power adders between the Mustang and the Camaro. Shelton Insurance and Real Estate also supporting the program. And that is Deckers, they do it every run. Nobody else does it, they do it. And when you're winning championships, don't stop doing it. That's your procedure, that's your deal, and that's what they do. We're not sure if it's for engine temp management or what. But effectively, every time they come up, you'll see that momentary pause. The RPM will mildly come up for a couple of seconds, and then they pull it down into gear and get after it. Team says stage it and go. Hank walking back to look on to Stan Shelton. Wheel stand for Decker. He had to lift his foot out of it. 367, 209.46. And Decker's car was doing the same thing we saw a few others do. It just climbed up on the back tires under speed and under acceleration. So Decker has to get out of the throttle, lands him 24th. For Stan Shelton, a 367. Good enough to put you in a number 7 spot right now. Man, there is plenty of racetrack out there. You're watching these cars climb up on the ring gear. When the torque converters are really going to work out there, and my goodness, Robert Abbott and Ken Curtuccio. Abbott from Bowling Green, Florida, the 1968 Camaro, formerly owned and operated by Todd Tuturo, Wild Motorsports, Tie Drive, Mr. Wonderful Motorsports, all part of the Abbott program. And Ken Curtuccio out of Wallingford, Connecticut. 69 Camaro. Pro-charged. Ken has been a late inning contender down here at Bradenton Motorsports Park multiple times. We need all Pro 275. All Pro 275 to the lanes, please. All Pro 275 to the lanes. Amy Miller's son leading the charge here as far as the tuning and mechanical side of this car goes. Proud Papa down there looking on. Abbott zips the motor up to clear it out, and he pulls it into low gear. We have established a bump spot of 9.175 seconds, and that is going to drop like a stone. Curtuccio, a very faint amount of shake, side-by-side 363s. Curtuccio goes 363.6 at 206.57 with that mild tire shake. Robert Abbott goes down through there at 363.2 at 208.65. They're falling out of the sky right now. Those are the number 5 and 6 qualifiers on the back of those two runs. Abbott goes to 5, Curtuccio goes to 6. The top half of the field, a 3.707 is needed to crack the number 16 spot. And the bump spot just fell by 2 seconds. Mark Werderhausen from Seymour, Missouri, in the Wolverine. Talked about the great season Werderhausen had driving this car in the Midwest Drag Racing Series. Hyperactive Performance, Taito Race Cars, M&M Transmission, Design Performance, Thompson Motorsports, Neil Chance Racing Converters, Turbo Direct, Light Safety Equipment, are all part of the program. A really nice candy apple red Camaro. Across from Werderhausen, this is Melanie Salemi. And you say, wait a second, this isn't Melanie Salemi's car, and you're right. Melanie Salemi is driving a car Mike Stawicki will be competing in this year. Mike Stawicki is back up in New York, or at least making tracks for New York. Go back to work in the engine shop. So Melanie Salemi continues to help, if not shake down, let's call it perfect this car. Stawicki made about a half a dozen runs in this car, apparently, over the course of the week before being sent back to the engine room. Well, Melanie Salemi, of course, a perennial favorite down here at Bradenton Motorsports Park. And the G-Force race cars, Salemi family, and Mike Stawicki engines have been interlinked for so long, they're practically family. And that is what family does right now. Stawicki is putting his nose to the grindstone on the motors. Salemi family is putting their nose to the grindstone on the chassis and performance side of this brand new race car. Joe Opleski looking on as he's tuning Mark Werderhausen. Werderhausen was tickling the beam. Huge wheel stand for Werderhausen. Boy, oh boy, that thing was up on the bar, something fierce. He still goes 374-1 at 200.83. Manages to take it through the finish line, but the wheelie bar strength on that car put right to the test. You saw as Werderhausen went into stage, he was in so shallow it started to flicker the bulb. A supercharged car, you do not want to spend, you want to spend as little time as possible on the two-step because the belt hates it, and you can break blower belts that way. And as the team has not yet touched the race car, there is still potential to be able to make this run here. Unfortunately, if they touch the car, it'll negate that chance, but Melanie Salemi waiting on the starting line. For Mark Werderhausen, though, that was a wild run. Another of these mid-track wheel stands we've seen so many of, and his was about as high as you get without getting into a flight situation. Still manages a 374 at 200. So some fuel into the injector hat. And unfortunately, going to have to push the car off the starting line. Tough break there, and certainly not something Mark was intending on doing. It just as he bumped the car in, it was just so shallow that it was flickering that bulb. And so we continue on. Just for reference, if you're going to come up here and run a 374, good luck, because that just got him the number 21 spot. There is not a 374 purposefully loaded into either one of these race cars, as we have Brandon Snyder, the J&A Service Camaro, on one side, and Todd Tuturo driving the P2 Construction team car on the other. Yadkinville, North Carolina for Todd Tuturo, defending PDRA Pro Boost World Champion. The accolades go on and on and on when we talk about Todd Tuturo. Once again, the level of shock and awe of either of these cars going to the number one spot would not be over the top. They are both capable of getting there and getting there very quickly. We saw Kurt Steading run 361.9, and he did it ahead of Todd Tuturo. So Tuturo, being the whiz-bang guy that he is, can see that 61.9 and maybe make some last-minute adjustments on his own car to try to be a little bit better. So Brandon Snyder with the J&A Service colors out of Atmore, Alabama. Quick Drive, Diamond Pistons, B&J Transmission. Sponsors for Snyder. Wow, they're both up by the center line. Snyder had the front end up. It is a 364.6 at 208 for Tuturo. Snyder goes 366.2 at 210.24. That's a couple of veterans out there. As you saw, both cars try to get themselves almost wholly out of the groove. It was Snyder that was closer to the center line, but both of them are wrestling their race cars. Tuturo goes 8. Brandon Snyder goes to the number 10 spot. Veteran skill out there to be able to work those cars down the drag strip as they just did. And just when you thought it was safe to go outside, it is Jason Lee and your Snowbird Outlaw Nationals winner and 4-time running Pro Nitrous PDRA World Champion, Jim Halsey. He calls this car Daddy Shark, of course. Halsey, the drag strip operator from Cecil County Dragway in Rising Sun, Maryland. And Jason Lee. Eric Gustafson, the car owner, based out of California. The Coast Packing Company is Gustafson's family business. He is out there operating said family business. Placing Lee in the seat of this car, a wise decision, as this is effectively a little bit of a grudge match, a rerun, if you will, of the final round of the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals that ultimately went Jim Halsey's way. Brandon Sweitz are tuning this car, a Gene Fulton 959 cubic inch combination. And unequivocally, it is not being contradictory or in any way to say that this has been the finest nitrous car in the world for the last 4 or 5 years. So Halsey and Lee, the